Hi, my name is Morgan. Welcome to Raft. Now, you read the title correctly. I submitted this as an English project. Since my research was about how one might construct a seafaring vessel that would be completely self-sufficient and wouldn't need to visit any land masses, I can't make that in myself. Like in real life, I can't do that, not yet. It'd probably sink if I tried. So instead, I'm gonna play Raft about it. No. So controversial. Making... So filming myself playing video games as a project. In any case. There. Blurred. Quaint, isn't it? This is the typical game. You kind of just throw your hook out, see what you can get. Dang it. There's also a shark. Anyway, suffice to say, the research I conducted, I did a lot of research into the concept of self-sufficiency. That is, being able to provide for yourself without the assistance of someone else. And the main research that I did was, entirely interpretation of self-sufficiency as a concept. I conducted a survey, and the main things that people really identified as things that you have to produce for things you have to produce to be self-sufficient, they identified mostly the fundamental human needs, The majority of the responses were, oh yeah, it's important to be able to feed yourself. That's one key aspect of self-sufficiency. You need to be able to drink yourself. Maybe not the best way to phrase it. But anyway, you need to be able to, provide yourself drink. I guess it goes hand in hand with food. And you need to be able to care for your health, like, remedying sickness, treating yourself for injuries. Although, something I think is the main takeaway from that survey that I conducted. I included some questions about collaboration as counterintuitive as that would seem, given I was publishing a survey about self-sufficiency. Oh. Thanks for that. Yeah, that's cool. Anyway, and the responses, let's just say people identified a lot of good reasons to group up. In other words, collaborate. Chiefly among them, I'd say at least what they all tied back to was this idea of sharing skills. Like, if I learned one thing, I've learned that one thing in like however much time it took me to learn that one thing. Jesus Christ. But if you learn something too, let's say I learned how to cook and you learned how to chop down trees. I don't now have to learn how to chop down trees from my own experience because I can draw upon your ability to chop down trees. That sort of skill sharing is what I found is really the greatest takeaway from my survey. Jesus, I might be wedged here. Anyway, the ability to specialize, task distribution, and another thing, emotional support. I can't think of anybody I know personally who really wants to be alone forever. It doesn't seem like a very thrilling prospect. Not to me personally, at least. These core values in collaborating were one of the main takeaways, alongside of the general perception that self-sufficiency itself revolves around being able to provide your own food, your own drink, your own shelter, your own medicine, like medicinal health services, and your own self-defense. That was the other aspect. Security. Let me get this barrel. No. Oh, my hook broke. New one. I got that as well. So I'll get back to self-sufficiency, I think. It's just a moment of relaxation. Relaxing raft gameplay. Watching that shark circle me. Intent upon... Oh, I hear a seagull too. Oh, I love seagulls. I bet my hook will grab that. Oh, alright. Anyway, where was I? So, that block of research done, I then turned my attention to, essentially, how do you become at least more self-sufficient? Asshole. I'd say one of the main things that Jesus Christ. I'd say one of the main things I encountered as part of this was this concept called permaculture. Actually, I was advised on it earlier in the year. I don't want to slip away. Anyway, permaculture. I essentially I did research on permaculture as a concept. To summarize my findings, permaculture is a lot about finding the natural synergies between crops, and between environmental factors. The open ocean, for example, can provide an endless effective amount, an effectively endless amount of water for, I think they're halophytes, which are types of crops that grow well in salt water. Like, was it, like, I might be butchering this, but quinoa is a halophyte. It grows exceptionally well in salt water, as long as you don't dunk it in the ocean itself. But that sort of thing where, like, maximizing the benefits. You are insufferable. Anyway, so, like saying, in the way that halophytes, since they grow especially well in salt water, they already work well in the environment that, say, I'm in right now. Unfortunately, in this game I can't grow quinoa to illustrate my point, but think of it. You just take a cup, dip it into the seawater, and pour it on your quinoa, and it's watered. I mean, I suppose also, like, kelp farms, too. And this is basically to say that at the heart of permaculture is this idea of maximizing the individual relationships between the relationships between individual components, rather than focusing on the components themselves. Now, permaculture, it ties in to the same concept of collaboration that I mentioned earlier. That was another part of the research that stuck out to me. Because, aside from just between humans, this resource sharing, this skill sharing, and this emphasis on developing synergies, which really lets the concepts of permaculture work. That is to say that when I do go out adventuring on a boat, probably not unlike this one, I'll definitely be bringing friends with me, so that I'm not stuck navigating and treating my wounds and farming and cooking. Many things I don't necessarily know how to do. Now, another aspect of the research that I did that I think is important. So I also, beyond just permaculture, I studied the concept of autonomous building in general. Autonomous building, namely, is focusing on, it's the emphasis of making buildings that can sustain themselves with minimal resource consumption. Another aspect that similarly ties to permaculture. In this way, like, 6 of those. Basically, in this way, nope. Jesus Christ. Will you stop? Quit it. Get away. Back off. Alright. Anyway, this focus on maintaining closed loops of resources and energy is another benefit of both permaculture and autonomous building in general. Because, well, very objectively, being able to focus on, well, I guess, this focus on wasting as few resources as possible is very integral to the concepts of self-sufficiency. Because of your ability to not only conserve as many resources as possible, thus reducing your the needed intake in general, but also being able to, like, but also being able to have a minimal environmental impact, which, granted, doesn't necessarily isn't necessarily directly involved with self-sufficiency, but is, I think, at least for me, one of the concepts at the center of my philosophy. Like, by aiming to achieve self-sufficiency, I am reduce my reliance upon the public, like broader civilization, because I kind of don't like politics. But at the same time, I'm also trying to I'm trying to, I don't know, I kind of just like the idea of being on a boat. I'd say that's the best I can come up with. In any case, Jesus Christ, would you quit it? I missed. Just leave. Be gone. Hopefully he didn't die, otherwise I'd have to stop. Anyway, the main goal, self-sufficiency. Because I like boats, and I don't like politics. I like the idea of being self-governing. It all ties back to a desire for freedom, like wanting to distance oneself from society. And I think that, at least that's the reason that I would want to become self-sufficient, to get away from the politics and all of the taxes and stuff, you know. In any case, my hook broke again. I did not mean to make another cup. Here. That's what I meant to do. Hopefully that seagull doesn't decide. Hopefully those seagulls don't decide to come down for chat. Anyway, I think my point in all of this is just that as much as I'm definitely bringing friends with me whenever I embark on a boat, unlike now, as you can see, I also want to maintain some level of privacy. Like, I'm not going to be taking the entire I'm not going to be taking the entirety of New York with me. I don't even live in New York. That would be ridiculous. But also, I'm not gonna go it alone. Fucking asshole. Get away. Especially with the issue of trying to eat just in time. Anyway, before I was so rudely interrupted, oh my god, that's a barrel. I can't leave that. Get back here. That's also a barrel. I'm not leaving that either. Oh. Idiot. Back away. Okay, that's it. Get the fuck out of here. Oh, did I need those blueprints with me? I think I need those blueprints with me. Well, at least I've researched that. No. Did I? I did. Did I? I did. You didn't. Back the fuck off. Oh yeah, actually, I almost forgot. Another part of my research, I wanted to look into potential examples of the sort of thing that I want to do, the sort of thing that I would be, fucking seagull, the sort of thing that I would have been doing had I known how to actually make myself a boat instead of playing raft. Fuck off. In any case, oh no you don't. I'm ready for you. Yep. Piss off. What I found interesting, this concept of intentional communities. If you don't know what it is, you can look it up. Otherwise, I'll explain it very briefly. Essentially, the idea revolves around multiple different people basically living together to their mutual benefit while also maintaining like private rooms. And per my research, the idea of these intentional communities, at least as of 2021, was very appealing to many individuals, especially because of a loneliness epidemic going on, because of a certain illness going around. Don't you fucking dare. Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, loneliness epidemic, right? People are lonely and looking for ways to remedy that loneliness. So, one of the ways that people saw it was shared living. And evidently, according to the Time article that I researched, it was pretty popular. I need to, hang on, my cat. Did you know I have a cat? His name is Ruckus. He's doing things. So anyway, these intentional communities, right? God, ow. Hi. I love you too. Anyway. Come here. Alright. So, intentional communities. This collaborative living, the idea of this benefit through being, the idea of this benefit through living together, not only to objective advantage, but also through mutual support, reinforcement by deep connections. It's kind of like, so you loved all that crafting sound. That just adds on to the reasons that I would want to maximize togetherness in order to essentially be as strong together as possible. This concept, I think, is at the heart of what I'm going for with self-sufficiency. Despite all of my raging sailor fantasies about wanting to be out on the open ocean with minimal involvement from others, I can't help but be human. And with that, hang on. I got a little interrupted by my victorious seagull hunt. No. Let me on. Let me on. Anyway, with that togetherness, self-sufficiency. Thank you for listening. However, I hope you enjoyed the raft gameplay in the background. In any case, that said, I think this will mark the end of this video. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. I will see you some other day, I don't know. I'll hear. Better yet, I'll see you some other day. Goodbye. Yup. You died too. Fucking. I'll keep filming until he dies and I'll paste it in at the very end. You guys get to see my satisfaction. Is your name Bruce or is it something else? We may never know. There. Dead. Fuck you!